Hey everybody, it's Pastor Chris. Hope you are doing fantastic as we wrap up our series, Speaking of Jesus. It's my hope that you've learned how to share your faith with those who don't share your faith. And I remind you, what was true in the beginning is still true today. That for someone you love, you are the closest they will ever come to speaking with Jesus. And if they're ever going to begin following Jesus, it's going to be because they fall in love with Jesus. And if they're going to fall in love with Jesus, it's going to be because you begin speaking of Jesus. And my friends, that's why this is so important. Now, today's account, you're going to be reading this interaction that Jesus has with this woman who's a Samaritan. And Jews and Samaritans in the ancient world did not interact, but Jesus, that doesn't bother Jesus, and he goes right into a conversation with her. It's such a rich account. There's so many different ways to come at it, but what I'd like you to do is to look at the way that Jesus speaks with this woman and the way he startles her over and over. It's like he startles her with what he says, and then he startles her with his brevity. It's like a cliffhanger. Every time she's like, wait, what? And we're going to use this exchange between Jesus and this woman to inform the way that you share your faith with those who don't share your faith. Now, personally, I've had years and decades of learning how to speak of Jesus with those who don't follow him. And I've had conversations over and over with people where it's just like they're expecting me to come guns blazing about moral codes or philosophy and comparing religions. But what startles people more than anything is when you speak of Jesus. And there's a phrase that I have come to use that is so helpful to me that I think will be helpful to you. So before I give you the phrase though, let me give you the conversation where actually this phrase kind of came out. Just this last year, a friend of mine who's a Muslim called me up and said, hey, I've got some questions. Can we get a cup of coffee? And I sit down with them and we're hanging out, and then they start just kind of grilling me with theology questions. And then she asks me, do you really believe that only people of your religion are going to heaven? Now, I know how I would have answered that question 20 years ago. I would have come guns blazing with all of the reasons why I think Christianity is right and all the other religions are wrong. My religion can beat up your religion, and it's never helped. I've never seen anyone argued into the faith. And so I know that it's best to, startle them just like you're going to see Jesus do with this woman today. So I startled her. I was like, well, I don't think anyone's religion gets them to heaven. And all of a sudden she wants more. And she's like, wait, what? And she's like, you don't think that Christians go to heaven? And I said, well, I don't know what you mean by the word Christian. And she says, well, people who live by this book. And I said, no, see, that's why I don't really call myself a Christian. I call myself a follower of Jesus. And then she goes, yeah. But like for somebody who's like believing in these things, and you have, the Abraham and Moses and David and all, and then Jesus and the Bible. And I stopped her. And I said a phrase that I think is a phrase that you can use in your own conversations with people because it's true. I told her, that's not why I believe. And she goes, what? I go, yeah, well, I hear what you're saying, but that's not why I believe. And the reason I think it's such a powerful statement to help you share your faith with those who don't share your faith is because what she says next. She goes, well, why do you believe then? Now I can talk to her about the resurrection. And I can talk to her about this incredible person named Jesus who has changed my life. And now, instead of speaking about Christianity versus Islam, instead of speaking about Abraham and Muhammad, the Crusades versus jihad, now we're speaking of Jesus. And my friends, the same is true for you, for the people you love. You are the closest they'll ever come to following Jesus. And if they're going to follow Jesus, it's because they'll fall in love with Jesus. And if they fall in love with Jesus, it will be because you begin speaking of Jesus. Have a great discussion, everybody, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.